Hey guys, I just wanted to record a podcast today with no script. See how it goes. It's just a little bit less formal, maybe a little bit less put together, and see how we like it. Anyway, so something I've been thinking about lately and sharing with a couple of friends has been this idea of mountains and valleys in our lives. And this idea of I originally learned about this in a book called The Calling Journey, and it's a coaching book, and it's helping me to understand as I coach people that they go through mountains and valleys, and some of them are quite predictable throughout some 80-90% of the population, and and so a valley is a time when you are going deeper with God, and a mountain is a time when God is using you in great ways, basically. And so, um, like a mountain in my life would be a time when I was staffing SBS, School of Biblical Studies. I get to teach the Bible, study and teach the Bible for a whole year. Like it's like paradise. It's like I get to use my gifts and I love what I'm doing, and it's so much fun. I get to disciple people as they study the Bible, and wow, it's great. So just like, I mean, it's not every day is like emotional high, of course, but big picture, it's a season of using what God has given me to bless others. And then a valley would have been a time like when I was in charge of a school, and I couldn't do it. There was too many things I was juggling. I was saying yes to everybody and trying to please everybody, and it didn't work, and the whole thing fell apart. And so that's kind of my fault. But it took me into a valley place of needing to deal with deeper issues in my heart, my identity, my insecurities with Jesus, and receive a lot of healing about those things that I didn't know were there until about that time. And so, yeah, we have these seasons in our lives, and I was just reflecting on how a mountain is a time when you need to take a step of faith, a risky step forward, and it's to be used by God. Whereas a valley is a time where you just wait in faith. You just be still and know that He is God, and also be still and wait for the salvation that He's bringing. Like God said to the people of Israel right before He parted the Red Sea, you have only to be still. And so just thinking about that, it's big picture, where would you say you are in this time? Is this kind of a mountain season for you? When you feel like God is using you and you're doing a lot. I was talking to a friend the other day. He's so busy doing so many things that God's been preparing him for the last so many years. And wow, it's so fruitful and so beautiful to see him just like flourishing in that. And it's tiring. It's not, like I said, not all good days, but it's a really productive, fruitful time in his life. And then I have another friend who's struggling, and it's difficult in relationships, and it's difficult at work maybe, or it's difficult in this way or that way, and a lot of things have made him really need to go deeper with God to be able to make it through this time. So what would you say for you? Is this a mountain or a valley time? And the thing he said in the book that I'll never forget is, when you're in the valley, the goal is never to get out of the valley. The goal is to meet with God. And I find that just like so powerful. I'm just like, it's not trying to get yourself out of this difficult circumstances. It's not striving. It's not just work harder to get through this. It's actually slow down and meet with God, because He has something for you in this time. And the mountain, so that's a time to be still in faith, and the mountain is a time to step out in faith and expect great things from God, attempt great things for God, right? And pray like it depends on God, and work like it depends on you, and those kind of things. But it's also connected to this idea of testing that we see in the Bible, and I've been thinking about that in connection with it as well. In the book of Judges, you see that there's this cycle of sin. People sin and then they suffer because God is hoping that their suffering will wake them up so that they will repent and sin, suffer, supplication, ask God for help, and then he will send a savior, a judge, to save them and help them, and then there'll be silence, like a quiet time. The land had rest for 40 years or whatever. And then after a period of rest, people start sinning again, and you repeat this cycle. And it's almost like God is an excellent teacher, and his students are in grade whatever, let's say grade 5. And they are passing the test. And so he can't let them go on to grade 6 to learn more. He can't let them level up and go to the next level of learning and experience if they don't pass. You know, he can't let his seniors graduate if they're failing the test. That's not the kind of people you want to send out into the world. And so I think God brings us these tests in our lives sometimes. And these tests are not because he hates us and he's trying to break us down with stress. It's because he loves us and he wants us to level up, and he's actually prepared us. He's given us everything we need to be able to pass this test. We know it. We have the support. It's just, are we going to reach out? Are we going to ask for the help that we need as we've learned to ask? Are we going to pray and depend on God? Are we going to do what he's taught us, you know, he's been teaching us throughout this time, and pass the test? Or are we going to slip back into our old ways and not apply what he's taught us and not show growth and maybe miss it, and then he has to give us some time to study and then retake the test and bring the test back again, and maybe a different person or a different circumstance that brings you to this place of difficulty where you feel like, why is all this happening to me? Well, maybe you didn't pass the test last time. Not saying at all that all suffering is because you didn't pass the test before. Of course not. But I think sometimes God is patiently teaching us for our good. And so if that were true, what would you say is the test at this time in your life? And what would it mean to pass the test? What is your good teacher putting in front of you right now? And what does it mean to ace that exam? You know, is he calling you to be still in faith? Is he calling you to take a step of faith? Is he calling you to be patient with people and to love your enemies? Or is he calling you to boldly leave your job or boldly persevere in a difficult job? You know, like, what is the test that you're facing right now, and what does it mean to pass that? As I reflect on this time in my life, I'm not sure if I'm in a kind of a mountain time or a valley time, but I lean towards the valley time. Media ministry has been difficult. I don't like it. I like talking with you face to face, not to this camera that's in front of me right now. And this microphone, like this inanimate objects, they're not very much fun to talk to. And the editing is, I just love interaction with people, and creating media content is not a lot of face-to-face interaction with people, and in the way that I've been doing it anyway. And so it's been tough, and it's been a challenge. Last month I broke down, had a good cry while I was driving, and I was sobbing just with the disappointment and the frustration of the last couple of years of media ministry, and not so much that it hasn't been productive, like, oh, this video got a lot of views or comments and that one didn't, or anything like that. More like a feeling of, I expected more of myself, and I feel like I underperformed, or I feel like I failed. And that's kind of a common feeling for me because usually my standards and expectations for myself are beyond what's humanly possible, as I've shared in other podcast episodes. But yeah, I was just feeling a lot of that kind of disappointment and discouragement over the last couple of years. So I had a good cry that day, and I feel like that's what God's working in my heart. You know, He's wanting to take me deeper through these difficult times about who I am, about being totally loved, enjoying His approval and His affection, regardless of how well I hit my own expectations, and really seeking to understand His expectations so I can walk in those, so I can relax in those, because His yoke is easy and His burden is light, and I have loved them freely. I have healed their apostasy. You know, it's just like this beautiful God who just loves us so much. He loves His kids so much, and I tend to get stressed out about what I think I should be doing instead of delighting in who He says I am. So anyway, kind of like a valley experience for me. And at this time, we're in Lopburi province, where my wife is from, caring for her grandma, who just got out of 2 months in the hospital, and she can barely walk and eat and can't take care of herself or get herself to the bathroom. And so it's like having a third child. It's a lot. And we are away from, you know, our church community and every community, and not doing a lot of the things we normally do in order to care for a widow in her old age, and of course keep caring for our 2-year-old and 7-month-old. And yeah. And so the test for me at this time, and what I think I need to do to pass it, is to be faithful, yes, in what He's given to me. To be faithful, to be present with my kids and with my family here, and with my grandma-in-law, and to be faithful to take every opportunity to share the gospel with all the strangers around us. And but more than that, I feel like it's an invitation to deep abiding, to practice the presence of God, to get to a place where I'm really delighting in Him every day, all day long, as I delight in my kids and my wife and my grandma-in-law and the neighbors around here. You know, it's not just persevering and being faithful, but it's actually finding a place of joy, because our God is a God of joy who commands rejoicing and celebration, and is worthy of that. And so I'd say to pass the test for me in this time, it's maybe not a step of faith so much as a waiting in faith, but finding the joy in the waiting. That would be, being faithful, I'll pass and get a C+ on them. But being faithful, full of joy and full of His love, and just not necessarily being never physically tired, never emotionally tired, but being in a deep, grounded way, connected with the true vine, with the water of life, with Jesus Christ Himself, in a deep, joyous, loving way, tender, affectionate way. That would be an A+. That would be acing the test for me. So, how about you? Mountain or valley? What's the test? And what would it mean to pass that test? Bye for now. Sawadee Khap.